Picture a guy who wakes up at 5 a.m. every single day. He works 3 jobs. He hasn't taken a real vacation in 10 years. His hands are covered in calluses. His back is permanently bent from decades of physical labor, and by the time he gets home at night, he's too tired to even eat properly before he collapses into bed. Now picture his neighbor. This neighbor works maybe 4 hours a day. He takes long lunches. He flies somewhere tropical twice a year. And here's the part that makes no sense on the surface. He is 10 times richer than the man working 18-hour days. This isn't a fairy tale. It isn't some motivational poster nonsense. It's basic economic reality, and it plays out in almost every country, every industry, every single day. Yet most people walk through life believing the opposite. They believe that sweat equals success. They believe that the harder you suffer, the more you deserve, and eventually the universe will reward you with money. Today I'm going to break down exactly why that belief is wrong, why exhaustion is not currency, and why millions of hard-working, honest, disciplined people spend their entire lives confusing labor with wealth. By the end of this video, you're going to look at work completely differently. My name is Lex, and I'm going to tell you about it. But first, subscribe, because what I'm about to explain changes how you think about money for the rest of your life. Let's start with the myth we were all raised on. From the time we're children, we are taught one simple equation: work hard and you will live well. Our parents told us this. Our teachers told us this. Movies about the American dream told us this. The whole story is built around one formula: effort equals money. Put in the hours, suffer through the grind, and the system will eventually pay you back. But here's the problem. If that formula were actually true, the richest people on the planet would be coal miners, dock workers, farmers, and construction crews. The people who physically push their bodies to the absolute limit for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. These are some of the hardest working human beings on Earth, and yet, statistically, they are often among the poorest. Is that a paradox? Not really. It only feels like a paradox if you believe the myth. The truth is, the market has never paid people for exhaustion. Nobody hands you a bigger paycheck because you're more tired than the next guy. The market pays for value created, for problems solved, for demand met, not for sweat spent or hours endured. So let's get into the real reasons hard labor doesn't translate into wealth. Reason number 1, time is a trap. When you are selling your time directly, when your income depends on showing up and physically doing the work yourself, you hit a hard ceiling almost immediately. There are only 24 hours in a day. Even if you are the most disciplined, hardest working person alive, working without sleep, without breaks, without weekends, you physically cannot sell more than 24 hours in a single day. That is the absolute mathematical limit. No amount of grinding can break through it. Now compare that to someone who built something instead of just laboring. Someone who built a product. Someone who wrote a book once and sells it forever. Someone who created a piece of software or a system or a business that keeps running and generating income whether they are sleeping, traveling, or sitting on a beach. Their income isn't tied to hours worked anymore. It's tied to scale. The exact same product, the exact same piece of code, the exact same book can be sold to 1 customer or to 1 million customers, and the amount of additional time required barely changes. This is the fundamental difference between linear income and nonlinear income. Linear income means every dollar you earn requires a matching unit of your time. Hard physical labor is almost always linear by nature. You dig 1 hole, you get paid for 1 hole. Nonlinear income means your effort and your earnings are disconnected. You build something once, and it keeps paying you over and over, sometimes for years, sometimes for the rest of your life. Wealth, real wealth, is built almost entirely on non-linear income, not linear labor. Reason number 2, and this one might be even more important than the first. People constantly confuse income with wealth, but these are 2 completely different things. Income is money that flows in and almost immediately flows back out. It pays the rent, it buys groceries, it covers the car payment and the credit card bill. Income disappears. Wealth is different. Wealth is what keeps working for you even while you're asleep, even while you're sick, even while you're doing absolutely nothing. Wealth looks like stocks that pay dividends, real estate that generates rental income, a business that runs without your daily involvement, or intellectual property like patents, books, or music that earns royalties year after year. A person doing brutal physical labor is usually trading raw effort for a paycheck, and then immediately spending that paycheck just to survive until the next one arrives. There's no surplus left to convert into anything that grows. Meanwhile, a person building wealth is doing something fundamentally different. They're converting surplus money into assets, and those assets generate even more money on their own without requiring additional labor. This is exactly why a factory worker can grind through 40 years on the assembly line and retire with almost nothing saved, while someone with just a handful of smart, well-timed investments can become financially free, even if, physically, they worked a fraction of the hours. It isn't fair in an emotional sense, but it is completely consistent in a mathematical sense. Reason number 3 is more psychological, and honestly, it's the cruelest one of all. A huge number of people genuinely, deeply believe that the more exhausted and depleted they feel at the end of the day, the more they have earned, the more they deserve. You could call this the cult of suffering as productivity. Society has trained us to glorify burnout, to wear exhaustion like a badge of honor, as if feeling destroyed at the end of the day is proof that you worked hard enough to deserve success. But exhaustion has never been an accurate measure of results. You can absolutely wreck your body digging a hole for 10 hours straight and create almost no economic value at all. Or you can spend 20 quiet minutes thinking through a single idea that ends up being worth $1 million. The market does not care how many calories you burned, how sore your muscles are, or how little sleep you got. It only cares about one thing. What problem did you actually solve, and for how many people did you solve it? This is exactly why so many of the wealthiest people on the planet keep repeating the same phrase: work smarter, not harder. It isn't some hollow motivational cliche printed on a coffee mug. It is literally a description of how income mathematics actually works in the real world. So at this point, you might be asking, okay, if hard labor alone doesn't create wealth, then what actually does? There are a few things that consistently show up whenever you study people who built real, lasting wealth. First, building systems. This means creating something, a product, a piece of content, a business process, an app, a service that produces results without requiring your constant, personal, physical presence. Second, investing your surplus. Whatever income is left over after your basic needs are covered, instead of consuming it immediately, wealthy people redirect it into assets, stocks, real estate, businesses, instead of spending it on things that lose value the moment you buy them. Third, developing high-leverage skills. These are abilities that scale far beyond a single hour of effort. Skills like negotiation, marketing, sales, programming, public speaking, or managing people and capital. A single skilled negotiation can be worth more than 1,000 hours of manual labor. And fourth, patience. Real wealth almost never arrives quickly. It compounds quietly over years, sometimes decades, often invisible until suddenly it isn't. To be completely clear, hard work itself isn't the enemy here. Hard work can absolutely be part of the path to wealth, but only when that effort is deliberately pointed toward building something lasting, an asset, a system, a skill that compounds, rather than simply trading raw hours for a paycheck that disappears the moment it lands in your account. So the next time you catch yourself thinking, I work harder than literally everyone I know, so why am I still not rich? Stop and remember this. It has never really been about how much you grind, how exhausted you feel, or how many hours you survive without complaining. It has always been about one single question. What are you actually trading your time for? Are you trading it for hours that vanish, or are you trading it for assets that stay? If this video made you stop and actually think about your own situation, do me a favor and drop a like. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who need to hear this. Subscribe if you want more breakdowns exactly like this one. And tell me honestly in the comments below, right now, today, Are you trading your time directly for money? Or are you actually building something that will keep working for you long after you stop? See you in the next one.